Right guys, in this video I'm going to be taking you through guide coat, its use and pinhole removal, and also two different types of application, one for DIY and one for more for the body shop side. The first thing we're going to do is run through the tools and the materials that you're going to need to actually guide coat and block the guide coat, etc. So firstly, I've got three blocks here. I've got the small block, I've got the long bed block, and on the very right I've got just a little homemade block, which is just basically a piece of 3x2 with a piece of foam around it, which is handy. Just one of them little nifty blocks that you made up yourself over the time. The sanding sheets we're going to be using are the P180 or Brunet long bed sanding sheets. These are really good. They're about £38 a box, but they don't block up. They last twice as long as your average sanding sheet, so it's worth spending the extra few quid on one of these sheets. Okay, so we're going to start off here with a matte black aerosol. Now, if you're the DIY guy doing this at home in your garage, or say you're in the body shop and you've got a small repair, personally I've never used proper guide coat. I don't really see the point. It's expensive, and a matte black aerosol will do the same job. This camper van, we didn't use matte black aerosol over the whole van because it'd take too long. What we use is a 50-50 mix with base coat and thinners, and give the whole van a light dust over with the spray gun, and then, as you can see, perfectly good guide coat. Right, so as you can see here, we're going to start off on the boot. We've got the long bed sanding block, and we've got one of them 180 sheets on there. As we run through this video, I'm going to show you the sheet a few times just so you can see just how good these sheets are. Because they're a mesh and not an actual disc or a solid sheet, they do last a hell of a lot longer. You're going to get a lot more out of one sheet, and unless your base material, i.e. your primer, is still wet, this thing's not going to block up. It's just going to keep going and going and going. Right, so one thing you'll notice is I'm not staying in one area. When I block guide coat, I like to move around. I like to try and block the panel down as evenly as I can. I also like to try and angle the block slightly so that you're spreading it along the length and the width of the panel. So in this case, you're doing top to bottom and front to back, or side to side as it will be, all in one stroke. And you want to try and keep going like that. Now you can see there me banging that disc, and if you look at that disc, nothing on that disc is blocked. It's still, got as much life in it as you want to keep on sanding. And the other thing is with these, they're not like your average disc. They don't wear out as fast. They are a little bit dearer a box. I'd say they're probably £10 dearer for a box of 50, but you're going to get twice as much out of them. And when I'm doing a job like this, this full respray on this camper, where this camper's had a lot of work and it needs a really good block, then I'll change the disc probably every panel, but the actual sheets, I'll put them in a box, and then when we're doing the little repairs, like little blow-ins and stuff on cars, and we need a 180 just to block the high bill down after, then what I'll do is I'll take one of these second-hand sheets out, which seems a bit tight, but they're still good. They've still got plenty of life left on them, and then you can reuse them. And the long bed blocks, you can use these on the little block as well. All you need to do is just take the Stanley knife, cut them in half, and away you go. Saves you having to buy a box of short discs and a box of long discs, in my eyes. But at the end of the day, guys, it's up to you. I've been asked to make these little videos, sort of beginner videos and novice videos, and this is how I do it on the jobs that I do. So if you like it, feel free, to comment if you've got another way of doing it. As for blocking, as you can see here, I'm holding this block in a few different ways. Now, you don't want to hold the block on an angle on its side because you don't want to dig in. Otherwise, you're just defeating the purpose of blocking it. You don't want to scuff it on the end of the block because you're going to do exactly the same thing. You're going to end up putting low spots in your panel, which you really don't want. So the trick really I found to blocking is keeping a nice even pressure and keep it moving around the panel nice and flat. And you know, the first few times you do it, you might not get it 100%. And the other thing to realise is the guide coat is just a visual aid. You should always make sure that you use your hands, run your hands over the panel after. Make sure the panel feels and looks flat. Don't rely on just the feel of it. Don't rely on just the look of it, because it's just not worth it. Because if you get it wrong and you come to paint that panel and that panel's not flat, then you're going to end up repriming it or blocking it all back down again and repainting, and it's just a long-winded process that you don't need to do. So again, we're on the other side of the boot now. It's got that tiny bit of a high spot in the middle, but by the time this has been primed, it's not actually poking high up in the boot. So by the time this has been primed and we get round to DA it for actual painting it, then that'll disappear, not a problem. Little bits and bobs like that. You'll learn what you can get away with and what you're not going to be able to get away with. The other thing to note is, as I'm running along that top edge there, where this flat meets that curved surface, I put my disc on in a way that leaves about a 2mm gap, so the disc at the top's not going to touch that rounded surface. You could tape it off, but you're still going to run the risk of burning through your tape. So just for safety's sake, I leave the disc overlapping about 2mm on one side and leave a gap of 2mm on the other. The side with the gap is what I'm blocking up to the curved surface, so I'm not cutting into the curved part. It's only the actual Velcro on the long bed block that's going to rub up against that. Now, some guys might be sitting here thinking, well, that's all fine and well, but you've got a really expensive block and we're doing this at home, or I'm trying to learn how to do a bit of bodywork, and I can't afford an expensive block. This yellow block that I'm using here, I think it's a PowerTech block off the top of my head. We got it off eBay. It was between 10 and 15 quid. Any DIY guy, any hobby guy, you should be able to afford that. At the end of the day, if you get one of these and get one of the small blocks, it might set you back £20–30 for the two. It's well worth it. It's a good investment, even if you're just doing a bit of a restoration and you want to do it at home in your garage and you've got a bit of knowledge yourself. It's worth, trying to get a few blocks. Some blocks, the same size block as this, are like 50 quid. These little blocks that are £10, they're a budget block. I haven't got a problem with them. They put out a really nice flat finish, and at the end of the day, once you get used to using them, you'll see it makes no difference. It's how you're blocking it and what you're doing with it rather than the block. As long as it's a good quality flat block, it makes no difference what it costs, in my eyes. But that's just my opinion. If you've got a different opinion, feel free to comment in the box below. Let me know what you think. This is just a few videos that I've been asked to do on some basic tasks. I've been posting the pictures up of this on Instagram as I've been doing this job, and I've been asked if I could do a little bit of a video on it. Luckily I had the camera at work today, so I've just done this little shot of it. So as you can see now, that's the boot blocked out, and still that disc looks fine. That's on this small panel, so I actually went on to do more of the back end with that block, with that sheet on it. And as you can see now, I've got a little bit of a high spot and a little bit of high spot where the filler was down there, but with it being a 180, it's taken the filler back. So say on that back end, right, we've blocked this door down now, and we've got a couple of pinholes and we've got a bit of a low spot. So all we've done is we've dropped a bit of stopper in it and let that stopper go off. Now your pinholes are going to be really easy to see, and so are your low spots, because they're going to leave a black mark. Your pinholes are going to be a harsh black mark, and your low spots are going to be a slightly bigger mark. And again, use your hands, feel for it as well as looking for it. And all we're doing again is the same sheets, the 180s, and we've put a bit of stopper in these. I'm going to use the long block so we don't leave any high spots in it or any uneven spots, and then just block the panel out, and block over your stopper and make sure that's nice and flat. On a job like this, there's two ways of doing it. If it was a repair on a car, you could block it out with a 180, then go for 320 and a 500, and then you could paint over it. Or a job like this job's now going to get fully stripped, all the edges done, and then we're actually going to reprime it and then DA it, just because it's that uneven, this van. It's had so many repairs over its years that it needs a really good proper prime, really good block, and it's going to get a fresh primer before it gets painted. So I hope you guys like this little short video. A little bit of an insight into guide coating and how I do it and what I use it for. If you like the video, guys, give us a like, and if you've got any suggestions for this beginner video category, if you want, then just drop a comment or get in touch with us on Instagram. I'll do my best as I'm going through jobs to pull out a bit of footage or to actually record some footage like this purely for what you guys have asked to see. So thanks very much, guys, and see you soon.